Hello, I'm Linda Kincaid, live at the CNN headquarters here in Atlanta, and this is One World. With each passing hour, the conflict in Ethiopia is becoming more volatile. Diplomatic sources telling CNN that a joint rebel force, including Tigrayan fighters, is now on the outskirts of Ethiopia's capital city, Addis Ababa. That is, Ethiopia says it launched another airstrike today on the Tigray People's Liberation Front. Ethiopia has announced a nationwide state of emergency, calling on citizens to prepare to defend themselves. So how do things escalate to this point? Well, we want to break down some of the recent developments. Over the past few weeks, Ethiopian government forces launched an airstrike campaign targeting the Tigray People's Liberation Front and its infrastructure in and around Mekelle, the regional capital. Nonetheless, the conflict has spilled out of the Tigray region into surrounding areas of Afar and Amhara state. And that has led to the US to issue several warnings, including telling its diplomats not to leave the capital. Earlier this week, Tigrayan forces claimed they had taken control of two key cities, Dessie and Kombolcha. The government initially disputed that and then later claimed that the TPLF had killed 100 people in the area. Well, those cities lie on a main road which leads right into the capital of Addis Ababa. CNN's MADOWO joins me now from Nairobi, Kenya, for more on all of this. And Larry, just 24 hours ago when we were talking, the Ethiopian government called on citizens to take up arms as the rebel forces made advances closer to the city. What's the latest? How far are the rebels from the city right now?
Linda, diplomatic sources are telling CNN that they are on the outskirts of the city. It's a joint rebel force with Tigrayan fighters as well as Oromo fighters, and that they could take the city any time if they wanted. However, whether or not they move in on Addis Ababa depends on a number of factors, including what the U.S. position on that would be. So there are scenarios that are being considered here. One, that the army, the Ethiopian Federal Army, capitulates and allows the Tigrayan fighters to come in without a fight, or that Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, is thrown out by his own people. These are all far-fetched at this stage, but it's something that the diplomatic community in Addis Ababa is having to consider based on the fast advancement of the Tigrayan fighters from the north of the country, and then this conflict spilled over into the neighboring regions of Afar and Amhara, and now it seems to be heading southwards into the capital of Addis Ababa. So great concern in Ethiopia, and that is why the Council of Ministers yesterday declared a state of emergency, which means that they're suspending many of the laws that exist so people can be held without a warrant of arrest, that the media, civil society can be shut down, and they have asked the government, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has asked people in Addis Ababa and across the country to be prepared to defend their neighborhoods.
And Larry, the US Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Jeffrey Feltman, is due to head back to Ethiopia tomorrow. We know that last month the Prime Minister refused his visit. Who is he planning to see? What is the mission of this trip?
We do not know who Jeffrey Feltman will speak to on this trip when he arrives in Addis Ababa tomorrow and into Friday. But it's extraordinary that he is finally making that trip when he was initially, the government of Ethiopia did not want him to come into the country. But he's been pressing on this note, and yesterday the US government warned Ethiopia that unless it ends the atrocities in the north of the country and allows for investigation, allows for humanitarian access, it will lose a key trade deal that allows it preferential access into the US market, the African Growth and Opportunity Act. So it seems like the sanctions that President Biden signed an executive order about back in September, we're starting to see some of that bite. At the time it was all just bark, but that bite is starting to sting, and it seems that the Ethiopian government is starting to say, fine, you can come in and we have nothing to hide, which has always been their position, even though the investigation, reporting by CNN, reporting by other international outlets, by Amnesty International, has shown that there have been atrocities committed in this conflict by all sides. So what comes out of whoever he's meeting, Jeffrey Feltman, when it comes to Addis Ababa, will be very interesting. Who does he speak to, and what does he say after that?
We certainly will stay on this story. Larry MADOWO, we will speak to you shortly. Thanks so much. Well, the UN is condemning the wave of horrifying human rights abuses carried out in this conflict. And in a rare report with Ethiopia's Human Rights Commission, it's denouncing both Tigrayan fighters and forces allied with the government. The UN Human Rights Chief said, and I quote, "The Tigray conflict has been marked by extreme brutality. The gravity and seriousness of the violations and abuses we have documented underscore the need to hold perpetrators accountable on all sides." Well, earlier I spoke with the UN Human Rights Office Section Chief for Eastern and Southern Africa. Take a listen.
Colleagues on the ground, they heard lots of horrific stories from victims, and the findings, if I have to mention some of the violations and abuses of not only human rights but also humanitarian law and refugee law, there were many indiscriminate attacks and casualties on the ground. Torture was found by the team, looting, and sexual gender-based violence as well. So many accounts. They met and they were, I would say, they were there and they could see with their own eyes the impact of shellings on houses, churches, hospitals and schools.
Ethiopia didn't want an investigation, then agreed to a joint investigation. The Prime Minister has already come out and criticised the report. He said the findings have clearly established a claim of genocide as false and utterly lacking any factual basis. The report also concluded the often repeated allegation that the government used hunger as a weapon of war is without merit. What's your response to that statement?
In the report, if you read it, you'll see that the report was just a beginning of a process, and it was good that the team was on the ground and could listen to the victims. But they witnessed, and they also they got information on some targeted attacks and some killings, which could be on ethnic grounds, and some violence as well, but not enough information to conclude that genocide has been committed. And also that famine could have been used as a weapon of war. But the team and the report is asking for further investigation.
That's right. And I just want to have a look at the response from the rebel forces, because we also saw a response from the Tigray External Affairs Office, who issued a statement, and if I can bring that one up, it said, whatever its findings, the report is fraught with a number of problems. First, the investigation did not cover all the heinous crimes in Tigray. Second, the investigation didn't involve all the stakeholders. Hardly an effort was made to reach out to the government of Tigray. Can I ask you, did the UN reach out to the rebel forces, and if so, what was the response?
They did, and the response, as you have seen also, when the TPLF rejected the report, saying that they would not cooperate with the joint investigation team. So it was a rejection from the beginning from them. They rejected it. And they didn't want to cooperate, so the team went to Tigray and was trying to reach out to the authority, the de facto authorities on the ground, but no, they didn't want to meet with the office. And this was also confirmed, as I've just said, from TPLF.
So you have called for further investigation. There is a question of accountability. If all sides have indeed committed these atrocities, who will hold them accountable and when? So
the report has many recommendations. And as a first step, the High Commissioner this morning was saying that we hope that national authorities could we saw the statement, but we really hope that the reports and with the recommendation can be taken seriously, and the recommendations, especially on accountability, taken forward and implemented, and to really ensure that the investigations and prosecutions are transparent, independent, thorough, and also credible. But if this is not the case, and she said that this morning, then an international mechanism could be a solution.
All right, Françoise, Mianda from the UN Human Rights Office, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Linda.